Hey guys, so in this video we are going to rank all the Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet booster boxes to let you know which ones are the best to invest in 2025 coming up. And before we get into the video, I just want to share a little news article. So Terrestrial Festivals EX, all the secret rares are revealed. You can go look at it. Courtesy of Poke Beach. There's also going to be God packs, two different types. One is going to have, I believe, all of the evolutions in it. So very exciting there, but that's all I'm going to say on that. I'm sure other people have made videos, so you can go check that out if you want. We're going to start off with Sword and Shield base. Now, Sword and Shield base is sitting around $330 right now. Again, nothing crazy in terms of hits. No one really wants to open Sword and Shield base, let's be honest. It's got a lot of value, though, just because it didn't get a big reprint like a lot of these other sets, and it came out kind of like right before peak COVID, so definitely not a lot of boxes around. I'm going to put Sword and Shield base in only deals for right now, and again, I might be moving some stuff. Also, if you guys want to look at the rankings, Dog Water is the worst, only deals slightly above it. Buy a box, buy a case, get a second mortgage is basically going to be your god tier sets. Don't actually get a second mortgage. Don't go into debt for Pokemon. I just thought it was funny, so I'm throwing it in there. Sword and Shield base starting off in only deals. Rebel Clash, I'm going to put into Dog Water. And I understand, I've done this sort of ranking before. You could put anything basically into only deals, okay? But I'm going to put, things below that in terms of what I think what will be like the most investable within a 5-year period. And some of you might ask, I'm basing this ranking off current price, but also where I think the boxes are going to be in 5 to 10 years. So keep both of those things in mind. Rebel Clash, nothing really exciting there. And I'm going to put Darkness Ablaze kind of in the same spot. And we might be moving some stuff around. Like if you want to go like this, put Darkness Ablaze in front of Rebel Clash. I think that's fine for now. Dog Water, again, nothing really in Darkness Ablaze other than, a really inexpensive Charizard. Vivid Voltage, I will put in only deals behind Sword and Shield base. Again, Vivid Voltage, not too much there in terms of, value when it comes to cards other than the Chonkachu. And, some people might want to come back to that in the future just because of nostalgia. It was the massive set during COVID. But, you're not going to see great growth in that, especially compared to some of the other sets that we're seeing, later on in this video. So leave it there. Battle Styles, I'm going to put in front of both of these actually in only deals, if I can move it like that. Again, Battle Styles, nothing too crazy. I own some Battle Styles. I bought it cheaper than market price, so I might be moving that shorter term rather than holding it super long term. But if you can find a decent deal on it, I think it's fine picking up a box or two. Next up, Chilling Reign. I'm going to put Chilling Reign and buy a case. Now, Chilling Reign, when we look at sets in Sword and Shield, it's going to be up there with your Fusion Strike, with your Evolving Skies, with your Lost Origin. Definitely not as high as Evolving Skies. I would say now probably not as high as Fusion Strike either. But Chilling Reign is still a decent price. If we want to look at it right now, a box is about $230 USD. Whereas if you look at something like Lost Origin, you're sitting at $240, and Fusion is now up into the $280s. So Chilling Reign, I'll put in buy a case just because I think it's a lot cheaper than, objectively, it's a lot cheaper than Fusion Strike and Lost Origin right now. And I think those sets are fairly close, right? Like I think Fusion Strike will probably pull ahead in the long term, just because I don't think there's as many boxes out there and as much product. I could be wrong on that, but just because of the price right now, I'm going to put it in buy a case. Evolving Skies, the big boy, get a second mortgage, guys. Sell your home if you have to, sell your car, sell your children, don't matter. Put your money into Evolving Skies. Now, I understand the box is close to $1,000 right now, and that's super expensive. A lot of people might not even have $1,000. Try and find some sleeve boosters. Try and find maybe an ETB if you can't afford a booster box. Guys, I understand it's $1,000 almost, but this is, basically a set of a generation. It's going to go down as one of the best sets of all time. And, just based on that alone, 5-10 years down the line, this box could be $2,000, $4,000, even $8,000 or more dollars, right? We don't know, but if you're buying it at $1,000 within a 5-year period, I would not be surprised if this is a $2,000 to $3,000 box, and then you 100 or 200% return on your money right there. So Evolving Skies, top of the list. Nothing is going to come above it right now, I don't believe. Fusion Strike, I'm going to put in buy a case as well for similar reasons, right? I wouldn't put it higher than Chilling Reign right now just because the price is at like $280, $300 USD if we can go look at Fusion Strike. Obviously, you have the Gengar in there, you have the Espeon, you have the Mew cards. So lots of decent value there. But you know, if you're paying $50 more a box than Chilling Reign right now, I don't think that's going to pay off within the next 5 years. Could be wrong. I think these are very close, right? Even at their current levels. So if you want to put Fusion in front of Chilling, that's fine. Go ahead. But I'll leave it for now like that. But again, still a really good investment, even at $280 if you have a long-term mindset. Brilliant Stars, I'm going to put in buy a box for now. I actually own a lot of Brilliant Stars, and I'm kind of disappointed with how it's turning out. And if I could go back in time, I definitely would not have bought as much, and I probably would have put money into other sets. But Brilliant Stars is still a solid set. You have the Charizard up top. You have some solid trainer gallery cards with the Umbreon and I believe the Sylveon, V and V Maxes. And then you have some other cards as well. So definitely a solid mid-tier set that you're going to want to have some exposure to because I think it's going to do decently long term. And again, you don't want to go all in on one set. And also, Brilliant Stars is a lot cheaper than some of these other boxes right now. TCG Player has it close to $200. I'm sure you could still find it in that 180, 190 range. And again, this was a very, very cheap box. If you're in the UK as well, I believe that this and Astral Radiance, which we'll talk about next, are still in stock on the Pokemon Center. So you can still get them for MSRP if you're in the UK, at which case it might honestly become a buy a case move, like up here. But if you're in the US and you're paying 180 or 190, I would probably just leave it in buy a box and, you know, kind of rank it that way. Moving on, we have Astral Radiance, which again, I'm going to put in buy a box and I'm going to put it behind Brilliant Stars. I think Brilliant Stars is a much better set. But again, if you're in the UK and you can buy these on the Pokemon Center for MSRP, this may move into a buy a case and move up in the rankings, in which case it would kind of look something like this, right? But if you're in the States, you know, around this, and again, Astral Radiance in terms of price, maybe a bit cheaper than Brilliant Stars still. But Brilliant Stars is definitely a better set in my opinion. More depth there. I think you could make an argument that Machamp is better than the Charizard just because of how unique of a card it is. And it has some decent trainer gallery cards as well. But yeah, I mean, I'll leave it in buy a box. I think that's a pretty solid ranking. Lost Origin, I'm going to put in buy a case. And I'm going to put it behind Fusion Strike. Actually, I might put it in front. Yeah, I'll leave it behind. Again, guys, these three right here, Chilling Reign, Lost Origin, Fusion, very, very close. It really just depends on what price you can get them at. And yeah, I mean, Lost Origin, you have the Giratina in there, you have the Aerodactyl, you have some of the Pikachu cards, the Rotom. So a solid set, sitting around $240 right now. It's going to do very well long term, and I think you should have a little more exposure to it than something like a Brilliant Stars or an Astral Radiance. Next up, Silver Tempest, and based on current pricing, I'm going to put this in buy a box, but put it at the front in front of Brilliant Stars and Astral Radiance. Silver Tempest is still in stock on the Pokemon Center. I actually just got in one of my boxes today from the Pokemon Center. I put in a purchase order of one. It came in pretty decent condition. There was a slight line on the top, so like the worker there probably opened a case, and then there was a slight indentation on the top of the box. So again, if you're buying from the Pokemon Center, your boxes probably aren't going to arrive in, 100% perfect condition. But if you buy one at a time, especially if you're in the States and you don't have to pay $10 shipping every order, probably worth doing, picking up a couple of these boxes and having some exposure. I do think you should have less exposure to this than something like Lost Origin or Fusion, and maybe even to Brilliant Stars. But again, it depends on the price you can pick it up at. So if you're buying at MSRP right now, I would put it in front of Brilliant Stars and Astral. But if you're paying like 160, 170, I'd probably rank it behind Astral and Brilliant, have it somewhere like that. But yeah, there you go. Silver Tempest, you have the Lugia, Rayquaza in there. Not too much depth, but still a decent set. We'll leave it in buy a box. Next up, Scarlet and Violet base set as we move into the SV era. I'm going to put this in buy a box as well and put it behind Astral Radiance. Scarlet and Violet base, you should have some exposure to it. Didn't get a massive reprint. And yeah, I mean, Scarlet and Violet base, already like we're getting close to a couple years, maybe even over at this point since the set released. And I mean, that's, definitely moving outside of its reprint window. I doubt Pokemon goes back and reprints a set like Scarlet and Violet base just because of how many other sets, which we will talk about later in this video, that they have to potentially reprint. And that's not even, including Prismatic Evolutions and other specialty sets like Paldea and Fates, which aren't part of this video. But they have a little bit of exposure to it. Again, nothing crazy in terms of hits, but not too bad right there. Paldea Evolved, I'm actually going to put in the back of buy a case. I am big on Paldea Evolved. I think when I made this kind of ranking earlier at the start of the year, I had Paldea Evolved in like the top tier. And that was because at the time, Paldea Evolved was just so cheap. Boxes were like $90 or something. I could buy them for like $92, $93. I definitely took advantage of this. I think I have about 4 cases of Paldea Evolved right now. You have the Magikarp in there just crushing it. You have some other cards like the Tyranitar, the Raichu, and yeah, I mean the new Gen 9 starters and their evolutions, Sprigatito, Fuecoco, and then Quaxley. So yeah, I mean like lots of depth. You also have tons of IR and SIR cards that are pretty cool. So Paldea Evolved, I would still be buying around this price if you don't have any exposure to it, and I would rank it above sets like Silver Tempest, Brilliant Stars, and Astral, just based on current market prices. Obsidian Flames, Dog Water. I understand the set is moving, guys. Sitting around $125 right now. There's just nothing in Obsidian Flames other than a Charizard. So you pretty much have the same thing as something like Darkness Ablaze. Maybe you want to put it in front of Rebel Clash, but yeah, I mean, I just don't want Obsidian Flames. I know it will move long term. Again, like everything, every box is going to go up with time. But when we're looking at investments, when we're looking at the current price of it, there are better options to go with right now. So I'm leaving it in Dog Water. Paradox Rift. I would put this actually in buy a case right now, just based on current pricing. I think a lot of cards in Paradox Rift are underrated, especially the Groudon. I think could move over $100. I've already talked about the Iron Valiant before. I like the Steelix. And yeah, I mean, lots of depth, and especially considering the price right now, this is the only SV set. Actually, it's up to $120. I haven't checked this in a while, but you could have bought this for $80, $90, and you could probably still buy it pretty cheap some places. But yeah, I bought all of my Paradox Rift for, I don't know, like 91, 92 all in after tax once you do the conversion. Cans and Games in Canada was just selling these super cheap earlier this year. So I think if you get it at a good price, I'm actually pretty bullish on Paradox Rift. I think it will do well long term. Same thing with Temporal Forces. I'll actually put this in buy a case as well. I'm a fan of these Paradox sets, and I love the artworks, especially the Raging Bolt, Walking Wake. Which other ones are in there? The Iron Leaves and Iron Crown are pretty decent as well. I do think the Moon. I wasn't a huge fan of the Moon when it came out, but I understand why some people would like it. And those cards are doing pretty decently. Iron Crown is actually taking off as of late. So yeah, definitely buy a case of Temporal Forces. But at the end, I would definitely put it behind these front 4 sets. And I think if you wanted to argue putting it in front of Paradox, that's fine as well. Twilight Masquerade, same sort of thing, but I'll probably put it at the front of buy a box. And I might move some of these around at the end. Twilight Masquerade is a bit overpriced in my mind at this point. Just compared to some other things. It is coming down a bit. It was up into the 160s, now sitting around the 150s. This is still a fairly young set that could get reprinted. Again, a lot of its success is based on the Greninja, but that's not something to be too worried about. When you look at a set like Lost Origin, a lot of that success is based on the Giratina's value. But considering the set only came out earlier in May, or I believe it was May or June earlier this year, it's still well within its reprint window, especially with the current price of it and the popularity of Pokemon right now. I would imagine it gets reprinted, and then within the next couple of years, it's gonna see some decent growth probably, but much slower than something like I think a Lost Origin, a Fusion, or a Chilling is going to see. So that's why I'll put it in buy a box just based on current price. If we get a big reprint, price comes down to the 130s, 140s, then I would probably move it up here into buy a case. But for now, we'll leave it in buy a box. We'll put it at the front, actually, in front of Silver. Leave it like this. I think that's fine. Stellar Crown, I'm going to put in buy a box as well. I might move this up a bit and actually put it in front of... I'll put it in front of SV Base. Again, Stellar Crown is cheap right now. Cheap relatively compared to a lot of these other sets. Only about $120. I'm sure you can find it cheaper than that. I know in Canada you still can find it cheaper than that. But yeah, again, nothing too crazy. You have the Terapagos in there. You have the Squirtle. You have the Bulbasaur. So some decent heat, but nothing too crazy. Definitely better than SV Base. And again, this is a set that's still well within its reprint window. Just came out a couple months ago. So we're going to be seeing a fair amount of this, more than likely, for the next couple of years. But we might not. So you never know. Definitely get a bit of exposure. I think that's fine. And then finally, Surging Sparks. Surging Sparks, based on its current price, I'd probably put in buy a box, and I'll put it at the front of buy a box. Now, if Surging Sparks was still $140, when I bought my cases, when it was around 120 USD, maybe even a bit less than that. I'd have to double check the conversion, but I bought in well before the hype. I saw some of the cards coming out. I thought the Pikachu was going to be unreal. I really did like the artwork, even with the crown on its head. A lot of people were talking shit. So if you got in early like I did, I'm sure you're happy with your position. And in which case it probably would have been like way up here, right, and buy a case, or maybe even close to S tier. But based on current market price, the fact that it's basically sold out everywhere, it's more than likely going to get reprinted. Again, it just came out, guys. Like, we're going to see a lot of just Surging Sparks for the next 2 years. And then also, we got to consider right now that it definitely is the best set in Scarlet and Violet. But once Prismatic comes out next year, we also have Team Rocket coming, the Battle Partners set coming. So if we get some super big heat next year, that might take away a lot of momentum from Surging Sparks, and we could not see this push, the $200 price point for like a year or two again, right? So, again, I don't think that necessarily is going to happen, but it is a possibility. Again, a lot of us, doing videos like this, we have no idea what's going on, right? Like, some people who have distro access, they'll know a bit more than other people, but none of us work for Pokemon. None of us know what Pokemon is doing. They're, very secretive about their actions and their plans. So we can only speculate based on history. But yeah, I mean, based on the current price, I would buy a box, get some exposure to it. And again, these recommendations here, like buy a case, buy a box, it doesn't necessarily mean buy one box or buy one case. It's just a wording. It's arbitrary, what I was just using for the ranking, but have some exposure to it. I would say less exposure than Paradox Rift right now, which would be less than Temporal. I'm just kind of thinking this through in my mind if I want to change anything. I think you could actually move a couple things around. Like, if someone wanted to put Fusion up here, put it in front of Chilling, or if you wanted to put Lost Origin in front of Chilling like this, and then move Fusion up. So again, I think like any of these are fine. I will leave it like this for now. And I think this is going to be my final ranking, guys. Obviously, Evolving Skies, S tier. A lot of other very good things, Chilling, Fusion, Lost Origin. Even at current prices, like if you're holding for 5 to 10 years, those sets seem like no-brainers. And I mean, if you want to have that long-term of a mindset too, you could probably move Surging Sparks up here somewhere like this, right? But just based on current price, the fact I think it's going to get reprinted, I'm just going to leave it down there. But you guys let me know in the comments down below what you would change, what you think of this list, if you're invested in any of these sets or if you're going to be investing. I know there's a lot of new people in this hobby and a lot of new people checking out the channel. So I'd say just, as a warning, don't overspend on Pokemon. Do a lot of research before you buy. Don't just take my opinion or someone else's opinion on it. If I could go back in time, I would definitely have spent less money in the beginning and done a lot more studying and research into certain products before I bought certain things. And I probably would have done a lot better for myself than I currently have, which is still great. I'm happy with how my Pokemon investing journey has turned out so far, but it definitely could have been optimized and could have seen much larger returns. Again, this is just booster boxes. If you guys want me to redo this with specialty sets, or you want me to throw in like Sun and Moon and do a ranking for that as well or something, let me know in the comments down below. With that said, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe wherever you are in the world, and I'll catch you in the next one.